this works. Hi, welcome to the first day of Gen Chem. Hopefully you guys are all signed in and ready and waiting. It's a little bit before 3, well, just about 3 o'clock. So we're going to give it just a second to give people time to show up and look at things before we look at the slides and talk about today. My name is Dr. Malcolm. I am very, very excited about this semester. It's a little different. We're all a little nervous. I'm nervous too about how this semester is going to go. As you guys are hopping in, feel free to drop a comment in the comment box that I think is on this side, but I'm not entirely certain. So feel free to say hi. Feel free to say things. Today I am in my office at UNF. My office is in building 50. If you are taking an in-person Gen Chem lab, it's in the same building. Most of the time you guys can find me on YouTube Live or on Zoom. But here is where we are most of the time. So let's see what other things. I have a dog. Hi. We were asked if we take attendance. There is no mandatory attendance in Gen Chem 1 this semester. I'm glad you guys are all here today. It's nice to see some of my former students who came in last semester. So as the semester gets started, I can see your comments when you guys drop them in the box. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in at any point in time. It looks like to me it will work relatively well. If you have, let's see, I said if you ask questions, put them in the box. Most of the time we'll look at some slides and then we'll talk about the comments and then go back and forth. I am trying to use wired internet. When I use the Wi-Fi, it gets a little technically glitchy is probably the right word for that. But in that case, hopefully it will all work well. So far it looks like we're getting a lot of hellos and welcome. I'm so excited. It's the first day of school. Feels weird. I would much rather be in class with all of you looking at our shining faces and being excited. But this semester is going to be pretty cool. We hope. So let's see. I am going to talk about the syllabus, which you can find on Canvas. And you can find the syllabus. I tried to add in an FAQ section at the very top of the modules page for us to look at that. So I see that someone's asked how long it takes for Alex to send you the code. And someone's asked, you can buy a 6-month code. Gen Chem 1 will only go through from now until the end of, I'm trying to think here. If in Gen Chem 1, you only need the 1 semester code. So just buy the one that ends at the end of the year. I thought that Alex should give you the code immediately, but if you want to send me an email if you're having issues, I will look into that after class. Okay, so I'm using a way to show my slides in YouTube, so if it ever technically glitches out, hang in there, we're going to figure it out. Ooh, it worked, I think. Yes. Okay, so this semester, well, today I'm going to talk about basically what's the plan? What does it look like? How does it work? What do we do next? So I know that that's a little weird and I don't want to call it scary, but today is the day where I'm going to try to answer all your questions. So let me switch to my slides. So this is Gen Chem 1. I am Dr. Malcolm. So I think it helps to kind of know a little bit about your faculty. So I love memes all day, every day. My friends and I send them to each other. If you have a good one about chemistry, about the pandemic, really about life, feel free to send it to me. If they're really clever, I will share them in the announcements. Otherwise, not so much. I'm a big fan of trash TV. The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, really all of those. I love it. I want to watch it. I am from Texas. You'll often see me carrying a corksicle that says Texas A&M on it. Just love it. And this little creature over here, her name is Lily. And so Lily is probably my pride and joy. And so she will be able to do that. Hold on, checking the comments real fast. Jordan, this class is fully remote. It was at one point going to be partially in person, but I think for my safety and your safety, we are fully remote. There are lots of classes on campus, but this one itself is not. So how did I end up at UNF? I went to Texas A&M for 4 years, and I have a bachelor's of science in chemistry. I then spent 6 years at Washington University in St. Louis, getting both a master's and a PhD, both in chemistry. And then I spent 3 years in Dallas, Texas at UT Southwestern doing what's called a postdoctoral appointment. And so a postdoc is basically an academic way of a little bit more training. It helps you become really the best you can be. So that does mean that it is Dr. Malcolm. I've gone to school for a long time, and I'm really excited to be a professor, and so I prefer to be addressed as Dr. Malcolm or Dr. M. What else do I love? Aggie football. Now, in this pandemic, there are a lot of things we can't do, and it's possible we won't get to watch football this season. And so I'm not prepared for that in my life, but we will all survive. So these are pictures. This the one kind of behind my screen is of me and our yell leaders, because we don't have cheerleaders, we have yell leaders. I've been to several games, and the dog holding the textbook is Reveille, who is our mascot. And so she is Just Be Still My Heart. So Lily Anastasia Malcolm, this is my dog. If you pop into my YouTube live office hours on Monday morning, or some of my Zoom office hours when I'm at home, you can catch glimpses of her sleeping in the back of class. We kind of hang out all the time. She is 13 years old. This summer, she's officially deaf. Well, she's probably hard of hearing. She will only wake up sometimes. You kind of got to shake her a little. She's super cute, though. So I love her the most. Let's check the comments. That is the course code, and we'll talk about that in a second. I like that you guys are on top of this. So Gen Chem 1, probably one of my more favorite college classes. It is one of my favorites to teach. So I'm excited for you guys to be here. I hope that we get to really get an overview of everything. I wish that we were in person. And so what we're going to really learn about today is how the molecules are put together and how do they interact in chemical reactions. So this is a good question to ask. Will I be posting lectures? So course delivery. How are we going to learn this semester? YouTube Live is a little different. I'm a big fan of it because it allows you guys to write comments. I like being able to interact. So by Sunday night at midnight, I will post lecture videos. So there are 3 videos for chapter 1, 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7. They're all about 14 to 15 minutes. So you should watch those. So on most weeks, we're not going to meet on Mondays. Today we're going to talk about the syllabus. And then most weeks, we will not meet on Mondays. Instead, you can watch the videos, and start working on Alex. On Wednesdays, we will meet every Wednesday. We're going to do live, collaborative problem-solving sessions. So you'll watch a lecture video on your own, and then you'll come, and we're all going to work problems together. I will post the worksheet that we're going to do, and I will post the videos. The worksheet will probably not go up until Monday night or Tuesday. I'm going to try to get it up on Sunday, but we'll see. The videos will always go up by Sunday night. Every week, you should get somewhere between 3 and 8 videos, with the idea that none of them are over 15 to 20 minutes, which is about 1 episode of Friends. So you can watch Friends or any other 30-minute sitcom, watch a lecture, go back and forth. And so every week, kind of like I did this weekend, there will be a word announcement that gives you updates as well as a video announcement to kind of tell you anything I need to know, or I think that you need to know. So on Mondays, you will learn independently. You'll watch videos. On Wednesdays, we will meet on YouTube Live. So you might be like, oh, Dr. Malcolm, sometimes on Wednesdays I have a biology test. As long as it doesn't overlap with my test, it's okay. Everything on YouTube Live will be available later. So if your internet dies, there's a huge storm, your dog has a meltdown, because sometimes that happens at my house, and you're like, you know what? I can't go to class today. I can't learn like this. It will be there for you at any other time. So you can come back to this. You could leave right now. Please don't. I'm happy that you're here. Anything like that. Whoops. Hold on. Technical difficulties. There we are. So these are our collaborative problem solvings. Wednesdays from 3 to 4:15. It'll be right here. It will actually be me standing in front of a whiteboard solving problems. The best bet is for you to look at it. So you can always drop your questions in the question box, or topics in the chat box. If you think that, like, you know what, I would rather not look at another example about, name anything you like. Could we talk about this? I'm happy to do those. There are some other places where I will be gathering information to really think about that. So a help discussion board. So if you've poked around on Canvas, there is a single discussion board right now. It's called Exam 1, Questionable Topics or something. In there, you can post a question like, I don't know how to solve this thing. You could say, I don't know what a limiting reactant is. If you don't know what that is today, that's okay. We haven't talked about that. But you could write, like, what is a significant figure? How many significant figures should there be? So you can look at that. On Monday morning at 10 o'clock, I will YouTube Live my office hours. So that allows, if you are nervous about coming into a Zoom room, you can try out office hours. You can always drop questions in the chat there. But it's 10 to 11-ish. So if people are in there and we're having good conversation, I will stay in YouTube Live. If no one is there and it's just me talking about science or about random chemistry topics, I will go into Zoom. If you have similar questions, you can like someone else's post in the discussion board. You don't have to go to the discussion board. The discussion board is totally optional. This is just another way for you to express, I'm struggling on these type of things. So you can go to that, or you can come to my office hours. So what do you have to, hold on, that was a good place for any questions. Ooh, Taylor asked, do we need the Central Science textbook? I'm about to answer that. Does anybody else have any other? If you have some questions, I'm going to go talk about the required materials for a second. Feel free to drop them in the chat and I will answer that. So, Taylor, in answer to your question, no, you do not need the textbook. I recommend that you have access to the same textbook. I will post what is called an open resource, open educational resource. There is I don't want to call it a website, but some universities have developed different methods for you to basically be able to see the same material. So that's basically a website that you can go look at. I think having a textbook is nice, but you don't have to have it. All you have to have is Alex, which we'll talk about how to buy that. And I recommend that you use a scientific calculator. So Alex, how do you get there? So in this case, you can go onto our homepage. So basically from Canvas, you can click into Gen Chem 1. And then you're going to click on the modules button. Over there, you're going to click this top link in the Alex Chemistry module. From there, you're going to click the load tool in a new window. Then you're going to agree to the terms. It should say hi and then your first and last name. It says test student because that's about the only way that I can trick both Canvas and Alex into showing me something else. From there, then you will click this blue Alex text button. So you can either pull up the YouTube video of this. These slides for this part are posted in the Alex module. So if you already have an Alex chemistry account and you know the password, click yes or click continue. So in that case, you can either log in or you can say, no, I've never used it. Then you want to register your account. So please, you do not have to use your name in MyWings, but if your name is Sam P, it will take me a little time to try to figure out who you are. So for me, I would put in Hannah Malcolm as the whole thing. If you prefer to go by, so if I went by a different first name, if I preferred to go by Han, for whatever reason, you can put that in there. I can figure that out. If it is significantly different than what's in MyWings or in Canvas, if you can send me an email, that will help out. Otherwise, don't worry about it. So register your account. And so from there, you can either, it will give you an option to purchase a code right then, right there. So it should be about $70. The bookstore is roughly $90 or more. So then you should see the homework. The class code you don't need unless you go to alex.com, which I don't think is the right website. So from here, you should be able to click into that. You can always access your homework through Alex, in which case you don't have to remember that password. So does anyone have any questions thus far? They don't have the codes at the library? Okay. Hopefully the library is just being weird about the codes. We have our first Alex assignment is due on Sunday. I will send I'm going to reach out to the bookstore and try to figure out what's going on with those codes because they should have already had them for you. You can also make a test account that will be good for 2 weeks. Graphing calculators. So historically, when this class is taught in person, I require you to not use a graphing calculator. You are welcome to use a graphing calculator. All of my examples, and when I teach this in class, I will only use a scientific. It is my preference that you use one. However, it is up to you. When classes resume on campus, you will be expected, not this semester, but like in the future, you would be expected to utilize a scientific calculator. So Zahara asked, do we use our own email or do we use the UNF email? That's up to you. I would use your UNF email just because it makes it a little bit easier and you know where the emails will go. Oh, so lots of science codes are back ordered. I'm going to check in on this. I don't promise to do anything, but I'm going to try. So it sounds like some people, if you go to the bookstore, that will help. If you are at home, then that's less helpful. So do we need the textbook to do assignments on Alex? No. So the textbook and Alex are related, but independent of one another. The textbook, I recommend you to have it. Historically, I have a lot of students that buy it and then never use it. So if you want it, go ahead and buy it. If you are on the fence, my recommendation would be to buy a used copy on Amazon or any other third-party selling site. You can find them for like, I don't want to say $20, but like they're pretty cheap if you're okay with getting an old one that's used. That would be my recommendation. Yes, please buy Alex through the end of the year. Oh, I like when you guys answer each other's questions. This is going to be so exciting. I will double check on the 2 weeks of free Alex because I'm pretty sure you can do that, but I don't actually know now that I tell you to do that. So I will find out. If you could send me an email about that, and I will get that back to you. We're checking on the temporary access. It looks like you can rent a textbook for like $12. I find that that's a good $12. I haven't been going to Starbucks very often, so I have $12 for that kind of stuff. So that's what I would do. Rent it, borrow it, something else. You might want to use it in that case. I'll double check on the 2 free weeks, and I will double check on the codes. So I will look into both of those. Because apparently what I thought we had in the bookstore obviously are not in the same way. But I will double check on all of that. You can either send me an email if you need 2 weeks access, if you cannot get something from the bookstore, or any other questions about Alex. Okay. So we've talked about this. Here are pictures of the allowed calculators. These are my preferred. You're at home. I'm not going to make you use an internet calculator. So if you have a calculator like this, it will look like the one in my example videos. If you don't, I'm not going to require you to buy one. These are just preferred. So the textbook. It looks like that. I brought mine today. You can rent it for $12 or $11 on Amazon. That's a great idea. I will tell you which sections to read for every chapter. I will later, when we talk about other ways for you to study, there are some optional work out of the textbook, but there is no graded work that comes out of the textbook at all this semester. So let's double check our comments. Okay. I will talk more about Alex as we get a little further into this. So if I have skipped a question, I do fully intend to answer that. So how does this semester work? We're going to have 3 exams, which are worth 200 points apiece. We're going to have something called weekly assignments, and I'm going to go through all of these in just a second. The pie completion, so Alex is worth 200 points, so roughly an exam. And then our final exam is worth 300 points. Now, in the next several minutes, I'm going to go through, so go ahead and drop any questions as you have them. I'm going to go through all of the different topics, and then I'll answer any questions. So those are the possible points. What does that mean in terms of letter grades? So if you look at this graphic, I kind of like it because it's nice to know satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So your midterm grades are satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So in my course, an 85% and above is an A. So that's super exciting. That means that you can totally miss a big question on an exam. You could like mess up on a weekly assignment. Nothing should be a huge deal. So an A is 85 to 100. A B is 70 to 84.9. A C is 58 all the way to 69.9. So in order to pass this class, you need to acquire 58% of the points, or 696, through all of these assignments. Now, as we start to look at more assignments throughout the semester, it will start to make a little more sense. But you should know that if an 85% and above is an A, that does mean that the exams will be quite challenging. So, but it means that you can miss a whole problem, 2 whole problems, make a lot of small mistakes, and still do really well on my exam. So our exam dates: September 16th, October 21st, November 18th, December 7th. All of our exams, the midterms, will be given through Canvas. The short answers will be short answers, calculations, matching, etc. We're going to give it on Canvas using Respondus or HonorLock. We're going to start with Respondus. I am not a huge fan of HonorLock for a lot of reasons. I think it gives you guys a little bit more anxiety just because it would give me some, to be quite honest. So we're going to start with Respondus, which is a lockdown browser. I will give you more details the week before. I will send a whole video, not a live video, just a video of details about the exam before we get there. But today, let's mostly talk about the course. It is important to note that these are non-cumulative, but chemistry is kind of like building a house. And so when we build a house, some of the things, like the blocks at the bottom, are used in the top. But I will not directly test you on exam 1 material on exam 2. However, the final is going to be cumulative, and it will include new material after exam 3. It's 300 points. By the time we get to the final, it will be the same as everything else. So, what happens if you miss an exam? Now, this semester, one of the things I'm working really hard to be able to utilize for you guys is something called compassionate flexibility. If you get sick and you can't take the exam, please contact me. Email, pop into a Zoom, office hours. It's probably not the best thing to write it in the chat, but you totally can. So if you miss the exam, we can average your other exams. In rare, there as a rule are not makeup exams. So if you're going to miss it, if you get sick, if you're quarantining, if there, heaven help us, is a hurricane, I want to work with each and every one of you. You just need to send me an email. Send me an email within, preferably before the exam, but within 2 days of the exam being assigned, like of the exam date. So exams are on Wednesday. You just need to email me by Friday. Hey, Dr. Malcolm, I got sick, whatever. Please reach out if you're having problems. I want to do the best things for you. So I guess let's see if there are any comments about this. Okay. So Jeremy asks, is the 11th edition close enough? Yes. 11th edition will be fine. Gen Chem has not changed, to be quite honest, since I took it many, many moons ago. So if you found a version from then, it would be fine too. Lily asks, will there be SIs for this course? Yes. Your SI is Megan, and Megan will be sending out information later this week for this class. We will also be having something called a remote instructor who will help with the chat box during some of our other things and doing some other super cool stuff. But that is also forthcoming. Lily also asks, are there required Zoom meetings or YouTube lives for this class? No. I will not be taking attendance. I like it when you guys are here because then there's a chat box and I don't feel quite so lonely in my office or in a room. But all of this will be stored on YouTube for you to look at a later date. Riley? Yeah, I'm working real hard and my Southern self is not doing well on your names. I'd like to apologize. I'm going to try. Asks, is a Chromebook compatible? If you have a Chromebook, the short answer is no. But if you let me know before the exam, we can work together to make a plan. Scott asks, is there a bank of test-like questions so that you can pre-test yourself? And Mariah asked a similar question. Are there study guides or practice questions before exam time? The answers to both of those are yes, and we will talk about those in a little while. The short answer is I have developed lots of ways to try to help you guys get prepared because I think exams are scary. Will the exams be during normal class time? They will either be during normal class time or an expanded normal class time. Honor Lock and Respondus. So Respondus or parts of Honor Lock basically are a browser lockdown, which basically means that when you are taking the exam, you can't easily access Chegg or Course Hero or anything else. So that's a browser lockdown. Honor Lock is some of them. There are ways that you can basically, you're required to use a webcam and that someone will watch you take a test. You will experience that in some of your other courses here at UNF. It's not my favorite, but we will talk a lot more about what we're doing as we get there. You know what? I think I would have anxiety too, Mariah, watching someone watch me try to take a test. That doesn't sound like fun. So I want your exam, I don't want to say it to be a pleasant experience because that feels a little like ludicrous, but I want it to be less anxiety inducing just because you feel like, what if someone thinks you're cheating, right? Like I get that. I want to be, exams are hard enough. So I want them, don't panic about it. Well, this is a new normal and we're going to get there. Destiny asked, is the open access textbook a good substitute for the textbook itself? Yes. So the short answer is yes. The only downside is that the questions at the back of the open access chapter are not the best. They're okay. But I will provide you lots of other questions to study with. So if you don't want to use that, that's okay too. Yeah, it's a lot, but we're going to figure out the exams as we get there. So next, we're going to talk about our homework system. So Alex, some of you have asked about the knowledge check. Like, what is this? How long is it supposed to take? So Alex is a homework system that is about learning. So you've probably encountered homework systems where you get one chance, maybe two, and it's either right or wrong. So Alex is about learning. And so Alex is basically going to give you as many chances as it takes. If you want to try that question 100 times, you can. So Ori asks the time limit on tests. The time limit will be 75 minutes. So there will be a time limit. It will be time constrained. As for what time the exam starts and ends, that information is still forthcoming. So Alex, what else do we need to know? Your objectives. So the way Alex works is you have objectives. Every week, you're going to have somewhere on the order of 10 objectives due. They're due Sunday night at 11:59. If you get them wrong, it doesn't take away your points. The more you work the problems, the better it will be during the exam. In office hours, I will help you complete objectives that you're stuck on. You can come to my YouTube office hours and I will help them. You can come to Zoom. If you come to Zoom, the best bet is for you to either have a picture of the question or be able to type it in the chat box so that I can help you with it. And we will work through it for as long as office hours take. So Alex has objectives. So the way this works and what your, the knowledge check, sorry, Space Cadet moment. The knowledge check basically asks, what do you know? So here's the tricky part. The knowledge check is going to look at everything that I've assigned in your pie. From day one, can you add 2 plus 2, to can you calculate the partial pressure of gas? 2 plus 2 should be pretty easy. Partial pressure of gas, you might be like, Dr. Wong, I don't know how to do that. I don't even know what to do with that. That's okay. We're going to learn partial pressure of gas like the last lecture. So the knowledge check, if you don't know how to do it, hit I don't know. It will then ask you something else. It is going to ask you harder and harder questions until you hit I don't know. You can use the internet and try to teach it to yourself. That's not really the point. So a knowledge check, whether it's the initial one or any of them through the semester, and we have several, is basically a way to say, like, do I know stuff? So your Alex score comes in 2 parts. Pie completion. So there are 170 objectives. I have no idea how many objectives. 150 to 175. I don't remember off the top of my head. You need to learn all of them by the end of the semester. But every week we have due dates because if you don't give me a due date, I will wait till the last second. And then it's a lot of work. So it will give you a pie percentage. At the end of the semester, you want it to look like this. I think that's pointing the right way. So it'll say something. And so there are all these different slices, and the slices are of different widths. Sometimes it will say, you've completed your objectives, or you've completed a pie slice. So that's good. The other part of your grade is for objective submission. So you need to submit your objectives on time. I think one thing that's really hard for me is if you tell me I have to do it by the end of the semester, I will wait until the end of the semester. So you need to submit 85% of your objectives on time for 100 points. And on down the list. So if you do not complete 30% of your objectives on time, you get 0 points. This means you could wait until the last day and do the whole pie and get 100 points out of 200. Not your best move, not the worst either. So let's talk a little bit more about Alex. So the knowledge check asks what you've learned. The objectives ask more information. So in this case, every week you'll have objectives. They're due on Monday. Nope, they're due on Sunday night. Those are for the week's material. So on Monday morning, we'll start new objectives, new videos, new everything else. Okay, let's talk about the chat. If you bought your book through Red Shelf, send me an email because they should have sent you a code. But the Red Shelf may only, I don't know if Red Shelf comes with Alex access codes. But if you're having a problem, send me an email. Are you doing school office hours? My office hours will be virtual this semester. They will either be on YouTube Live or via Zoom. If you were, I believe, so Mariah asks if I'm not in this time zone or I'm not in the Eastern time zone. It is my understanding that my course runs in what we're going to call UNF time. So the due dates that I set are local time here. If it happens once or twice, send me an email. Hopefully we'll get it figured out. And I'm pretty sure that Canvas deadlines are UNF time zones. So I think those are all Eastern Standard. But I will make a point to include that in any deadlines that I have. Okay, so weekly assignments. These are going to be, I don't want to call them exam-like questions, but they're going to be a question that I write. So I write all of my own exam questions. And they'll open sometime on Wednesday or Thursday, and they'll be due Sunday night at midnight. You will have to solve the problem by hand, but they are open notes. So it's not a quiz. It is an opportunity for you. I would recommend doing it without notes, without your friends, to basically try to see what do you know. So they're 10 points apiece. So they are a weekly low stakes assignment. And the top 10 out of 12 count. So if you miss one, it'll be a dropped one. If you get it wrong, you will get some other point. You will get partial credit. So I love partial credit. And so these are not all or nothing. They will be available for you to earn partial credits. So a lot of you guys have asked, like, how do we do well in this class? These are great questions, and now's the time to think about that. So your optional textbook is a good resource. If you're like, I wish I could get a little bit more information, okay, you can do that. There are notes. So if you've watched the videos, you'll notice that I write on slides in them. The lecture videos, those slides are available to you. You can go to office hours and SI sessions to get extra help. We will have a remote instructor who is also available for help. I am available to help. Study groups, I'm not quite sure how to facilitate those yet. Usually, if you guys would have come to my office, I would kind of be like, hey, don't you guys want to study in the library together? And then my YouTube channel. And you're like, yeah, we know because we're here. So my YouTube channel has more than just live videos. So office hours. Now, what is an office hour? An office hour is time out of my day on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays where I basically will sit and hope that people want to hang out with me. Now, what do you do in office hours? You can pop by to see if my dog is in the office hours. That's okay. You can come with a specific question. I also think office hours are a good place to show up and say stuff like, I don't really know how this works. I don't understand what significant figures are. You can come and I will work with you. That's what you're supposed to do. You're also more than welcome to show up if you don't have questions, and just lurking sounds weird, but you can kind of hang out and see what other people ask. So on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, I will YouTube live my office hours. Those will be saved under the office hours playlist for you to watch later if you want to. The rest of them are in Zoom. So on the home page of Canvas, there's a place that says Zoom and it's a hyperlink. You can just click that button. I know if you're not familiar with Zoom, you can click on that button. It'll take you into an office hour. It'll basically take you into a window. It will give you the option to put a name in there. Your IN number doesn't really help me because I don't know who you are if you don't turn on your camera. I'm not asking you to turn on your camera. But if you could write your first name or your last name, if you have preferred pronouns, please put those in there as well. It is my every effort to make Zoom an accessible and friendly place for you. So please feel free to do that. You do not ever have to put on your camera in Zoom. There are ways that you can call in from like a 1-800 number. You can do that too. So if you have any questions, let's see. Ooh, just some comments that partial credits are awesome. I think so too. So feel free to come to office hours. It'll basically just be me, maybe me and a whiteboard trying to answer questions. So next. I know that today feels overwhelming because you're either at home, maybe you're in the library, maybe you're in your car, wherever you are. I think that Gen Chem 1 is hard. I think Gen Chem 1 in a pandemic remote is hard. My hope is that all of us work together to where we can get to the end. If that means that I need to spend more time doing example problems, I will make more videos. So just watching the videos or just watching the problem solving sessions isn't going to be enough. It's probably enough to, maybe it's enough to survive, to tread water, to get a C. I think that most students spend 6 to 10 hours a week outside of class studying. Now, that's in a normal world. I think this semester it's probably about the same. But what do those hours mean? Doing your Alex homeworks counts as studying. Going to an SI session counts as studying. Coming to office hours counts as studying. Watching my YouTube example problems, studying. Working problems, studying. What doesn't count is what I like to call guilty Netflix. And if you're like, what is that, Dr. Malcolm? It is where you pick up your textbook or your laptop and you hold it and you watch TV. Because then you're like, I'm going to open this any moment now. I don't. I always think I'm going to, and I don't. So what you want to do is either study or watch Netflix. So that's my pro tip in life. So here are some hints. So you should take notes. I write on the slides, so you can write exactly what I write. You can write what I say. You can write something in between. If you don't have access to a printer, you can write something else. The templates are available for you on Canvas in, I think it's called Slides. So here's the other thing, practice. You want to practice solving problems by hand. Partial credit in this semester is going to come from, you're going to have to solve all of these problems by hand and upload your work, which means it will take me longer to grade them because I am not Canvas. But that's how we earn partial credit. So I will show you how to do lots of examples with the idea and hope that you're doing them at the same time. So read the book. In the remote environment, I think it's really easy to fall behind, to say, you know what, this week I'm going to take a break. So my suggestion is to stay on top of it. There's a course schedule. Look at that, figure it out. If you're like, I don't know what to do, send me an email. I'll help you figure that out. If you miss something, if I'm solving a problem and you don't know where that number came from, write it, put it in the chat. I look at the chat. I will try to answer every question in the chat. The other thing is, both in Alex and on my exams and on my weekly assignments, Alex will give you like way more information than you need. Like way more information. So you want to read the whole thing. So you also want to make sure that you answer what it's asked. Just figuring out something may not be what it asks for. All right. We've got some, guilty Netflix. Yeah, happens all the time. The SI groups are going to be online. But you guys are answering your own questions. This is awesome. If you would like, I can also I think can make a discussion board, and I can start one if you guys want to try to make groups that way. Looks like we have some people making a study group. It's so exciting. All right, y'all are all giving your Instagram comments. I don't need to know those yet. But I like where your head's at. This is going to be an exciting semester. I'm just so excited. Okay. So I think Olympic diving, and this would have been way better if the Olympics had happened this summer, but Olympic diving is like in my opinion, it's a lot like chemistry. When you watch diving, it looks really easy, like super easy. But I'm pretty sure if I dove, I would look like this guy doing a belly flop. You have to train. So a lot of times when you guys watch me do problems, I've trained for years to be this good. I can just pull random chemical information out of my brain. That's like a lot, and I'm not asking you to do that. So before you watch the videos, look over the note packet. It'll help you figure out what's happening. You can read the sections in the textbook. The numbers, so the video 1.5 corresponds to the to the section. So 1.5 is the same in the book. So make sure you have somewhere to write down notes. I know that when I watch a lot of YouTube lectures because there are some pretty cool scientists out there. I watch those on 1.5 speed while I fix my hair. So I'm just kind of listening and mostly hearing people talk like a chipmunk. I know that I sound like a chipmunk at 2x speed. But just speed watching the video in order to do that probably isn't the best thing this semester. It's a nice way to like stay caught up on the lecture. Like, okay, I just want to think about that topic more, but I would suggest making sure you have somewhere to write. So, I preempted this slide. Pause the video. So the first 3 don't have a lot of examples, but in chapters 2, 3, and the rest of the semester, it'll be an example. Feel free to hit pause and give it your best go. And then watch me solve it. So if I tell you you need to find a periodic table, you might need to print one, but come prepared. I hope they're entertaining. I hope the audio worked out. We'll find out. So the collaborative problem solving sessions, those are on Wednesdays. Come prepared. Look over the questions. You can attempt them before you attend. You can just show up and look at them. I will go over it. I don't want to say forever, but I am working on in here also getting away to where the questions are basically right here while I solve them, so that if you don't have the printout or you only have one device, you're not trying to say like, I don't know what's happening. That, or I will put them in the comments chat so that you could scroll back up and look at those as well. So. Okay, so we have a couple of questions. You guys are all looking at Snapchat, so I don't need that. So the note packet is the slide handouts. If you, on the Canvas module, which you can't really look at right now, if you open any of the modules, it will tell you what is in there. That's, yes. So if you click on the FAQ, it drops down and there's like a text box that tells you what the comment says. So Courtney asks, when the video is over, will we be able to come to the chat and look at the questions? Yes. So I will tell all of you, and I will go back and edit them out afterwards just to kind of fix it. Everything in the chat box will stay in the chat box. With YouTube, I can go back in and delete them afterwards. So I don't want to say don't post personal information, but whatever is there is on my very public YouTube channel. So if you get creepy people asking to be your friend on Instagram or Snapchat that are not your classmates, feel free to say no. This may be where that happened. The decimal places will come from the significant figures. So we can look at those kind of things. And so that will depend on that. And so if you watch video 1.6, it will tell you how many decimal places and how to calculate that. And we'll go over that some more on Wednesday. I think that's all of that. So on my YouTube channel, we're going to do a lot on here, but I'm going to tell you what some of the other things are. So lecture videos, if you will always have some very pretty clear, it'll look like a lecture. They will be at the top of the chapter playlist in that order. In chapter 1, it's like 3 lecture videos and then 4 examples. In chapter 2, it may be a lecture and then an example video and then a lecture and then example videos. So the example videos, the question templates that are there are available on in Canvas. So you can go in and print those out or look at them at the same time. You can see that this screenshot is quite old because the subscriber count is quite different than it is currently. So when I used to teach in person, the YouTube was another place for you to get examples. I will try to add more example videos this semester in addition to the lives and the lectures because I think there's no such thing as too many examples. So how do you get help? You want to get help early and often. Office hours, SI, when that starts, which I think is next week. SAS tutoring, which is on Zoom. In the past, there was tutoring at the fountains. I'm not sure on that one. I will double check and I will try to post a page in the FAQs about all of the different places where we can get help. I hear some chats. Okay, y'all are doing good. So I thought the other thing, in addition to the YouTube examples, sorry for moving back and forth, there are chapter worksheets that are optional. Those are just what I like to call skill building exercises. What I found is that students mostly do the worksheets right before the exam. Some people do them a little bit before, but it's a nice way to basically practice right before the exam. You can always bring your work to office hours and I will check them. You can bring them to, or you can send me an email picture of your work and I will check it for you. The keys go up 48 hours before the exam though. So other dates that are important enough for me to tell you on the first day when we're already overwhelmed. So Gen Chem 1 is really hard. I know that. I am going to work really hard to make it as feasible and as possible as possible. So sometimes we need a chance to get a do-over. Some people call them a mulligan. You can call them whatever you want. So we've developed a course called the TuneUp Course. So if you need a reset, you know, we've all done stuff like I was making these cookies the other day and it was bad. And I was like, I can't fix this. So I just took all the stuff I'd made and I threw it away and I started over. So sometimes we need a tune-up. And so you can transfer to Intro Chem, which is basically one step back and will give you all of the skills you need to be super successful in Gen Chem 1. So you can do that in September. By September 24th, you can transfer to the TuneUp course. So you can transfer into Intro and a study skills class. There, it is free to change, and there is no record on your transcript. It doesn't look like you took it and then you withdrew. It just looks like this basically goes away. So as we get closer, I will give a lot more information. If you're curious about it, in the FAQs, there will be a TuneUp course FAQ that should hopefully open up this week. So November 6th is the last day to withdraw. A withdraw, you only get 3 as an undergrad or in your lower level courses at UNF. That is on your transcript. It is permanent. You can't unwithdraw, but a withdrawal isn't always a bad thing. So if you need one, when we get closer, we'll talk about it. They are not a big deal if you need one. Okay. Whoops, hold on. Any questions? I will talk about what assignments are due at the end of the week in just a second. I think next there's a couple of more, a little preview of the semester, but then we will do that. At the end, I will tell you exactly what you need to do for this week. It's a good question. Any other questions you guys have in the moment? Okay. So this semester, I think it's important to think about, like, what is chemistry? So here are a couple things. People talk about chemistry as being, so when I tell people I'm a chemistry professor, their number one response is, oh, I hated that class. I think that's a valid statement. I think you can hate this class, but I would like to argue that this class is a foundational course. So you don't have to love chemistry. You don't have to decide that chemistry is your life, like it's everything you've ever wanted. It is for me, and so I think you should change and become a chemist. But I think the idea that chemistry is boring is kind of silly. So chemistry is all around us. I'm a big coffee drinker. I'm sure there will be lots of these where I'm like having a coffee. But coffee uses filtration. Filtration is chemistry. Okay, well I like coffee. Coffee chemistry, okay. Cinnamon rolls require something to give levity, otherwise they're bricks and they're not very good. So the reaction between the baking powder, baking soda, and the acid or the other components that allow it to rise is a chemical reaction. But that's a chemical reaction that doesn't feel like a reaction. I really like Bill Nye Saves the World. It's on Netflix. You can almost count that as studying, like borderline. It's really good. He's really approachable. I saw the rocket launch in May. That's for sure chemistry, right? Propulsion, explosions, definitely chemistry. Lasers, chemistry. Some might argue that lasers are also physics, but that's okay. This molecule down at the bottom is, I think that's cocaine. Yeah. So we're not going to learn how to make that. We're not going to really do anything with that, but that's a chemical structure. So chemistry is the study of the structure and composition and the properties of matter. Chemistry is not scary. It can be. But I think a lot of times when people talk about how much they hated this class, or whether it's chemistry or intro, chemistry 1, chemistry 2, organic, I think sometimes it's because their professors, what am I trying to say? I'm going to make the argument that chemistry is cool all semester long. There will be parts that will be uncool, but we have to learn those to get to the cool parts. So Classification of matter. Oh, there's a typo here. There are 3 states of matter: solid, liquids, and gases. That's pretty simple. So we can think about samples, and this should say, and before I post these, I will edit this to have the rest of the sentence that apparently got lost. So samples can have different levels of purity. So we know that if you have a sample and it's pure one object or the other, so we can have different types of samples, and we're going to encounter different types of samples and systems in this semester. So we can have a pure substance. A pure substance just means that it's one thing. So you can have a pure substance, pure water, but that's composed of more than one element. So an element is a pure substance, but a pure substance is not always an element. We can have a compound. So compounds are things that are together in a ratio. Water is 2 hydrogens and an oxygen. That's a compound. So a compound would be if you buy Oreos. If you buy Oreos in the United States, whether you are here in Jacksonville, you're in Seattle, Washington, you're in Dallas, Texas, New York City, those Oreos are the same. They're always the same. If you go to the store and you're on a budget and you buy chocolate wafer cookies, those are different in Jacksonville, whether you go to Publix, you go to Winn-Dixie, you go to Target, you go to like Aldi. Well, they don't always have chocolate wafer cookies, but sometimes they do. All of those look the same. It's 2 chocolate cookies with a cream in the center, but they're not exactly the same. Sometimes the off-brand is good, and sometimes it's not. So that's a compound is something that is always the same. A mixture is something that is never the same. So compounds and mixtures are different. So the law of constant composition says that the elemental composition of a compound is always the same. Water is always 2 hydrogens and an oxygen. Salt is always sodium and chloride. We'll come back to that in just a second. I'm excited that you guys like this. Oh, this is a good chat today. All right. So we will talk about the end of class in just a second. I hope you can take more classes with me. I love chemistry. It's super cool. And I hope you guys like this class. I've got some exciting adventures planned for us. So the last thing I want to tell you before we talk about what do you have to do for the rest of the week for this class is the nature of energy. So energy is part of what we're going to talk about this semester. So energy is the capacity to do work or transfer heat. So I love to run. You may sometimes, if you're on UNF's campus, see me running around, struggle running because it's so hot. But the thing is, when we use energy, we either do something and get sweaty or it gets hot. So in this case, it mostly moves forward. And so the energy is the ability to do work or transfer heat. So energy in a chemical system, so when we think about energy in chemistry, we don't do a lot of like work and heat transfer. That's a lot more physics and other chemistry courses. But we're going to talk a lot about how you build a molecule. How do the 2 atoms meet and hang out together? How do they interact with one another? And so these last couple of slides are just kind of what I like to call like the advanced overview of the semester. That information, you're not really going to need it this semester. When you do, we will represent it. So that's just kind of a taste of what's to come. Okay, let me make sure that's the last slide. Nope. So here's a list of all the things that I hope we learn this semester. And so we are going to kind of look at these things. It's also listed in your syllabus. If you're like, what are we learning? We're going to learn so much fun stuff. Okay, so for the next couple minutes, if you have a question, pop it in the chat box. If you don't, then hang around. Okay, So what do you need to do between now and Wednesday? Because that's been a pretty common question. On my YouTube channel, in the Chapter 1 playlist, there are 3 videos, 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7. You should watch all 3 of those before you come back to YouTube Live on Wednesday. In that YouTube Live, we're going to work example problems. An example problem is we're just going to work examples, because I think the scariest part of Gen Chem 1 is the unknown. So in that case, that will work pretty well, right? So I'll answer that question about the labs. So we're going to try to work with some of those kind of things. Okay, let's see. What else? Watch the 3 videos. Your first ALEKS objectives are due Sunday night. The first weekly assignment will come out on Wednesday. I will send a Canvas announcement with a here's what it is. The first one will be a get to know you. There will be an example that I will have filled out, I really enjoy getting to know my students. And so I'm a little disappointed that at best I get to see you guys in the chat box and maybe in Zoom. So this is a chance for you to tell me, what are you excited to learn? What are you terrified about this course? Any of that kind of information. So we can look at all those in there. It will come out later tomorrow or Wednesday. I will send an announcement in that case. So you need to complete those and do your weekly assignment. Your ALEKS objectives, there are a lot due on Sunday. I think 55. Now, many of you just had a heart attack. Most of those should go away with your first knowledge check. If you click I don't know on all of them, you're going to have a lot more work to do. But it's going to ask you things like, do you know how to add? Do you know how to solve for y equals mx plus b and plug in information? So the better you do on the knowledge check, the less objectives you have to do going on. So some of you will have more objectives to do this week than others. There's no right or wrong way. The other not fun fact about ALEKS is that after later objectives, it can take away your completed objectives. So it's going to ask, what did you learn? So this week, 3 videos show up on Wednesday to solve problems together. Weekly assignment coming out no later than tomorrow night at midnight. And you're out, sign up for ALEKS and do the objectives. It's a lot of things, but that's kind of the rhythm every week. So next week, there will be a series of videos that post on Chapter 2, which you'll watch, and then on Wednesday, we will solve problems together. Objectives and weekly assignments are due on Sunday, and then we repeat. So we're going to, I don't want to say I'm going to be over communicative, but if you're uncertain about what's due, please send me an email. I tend to respond to emails. Sometimes it will take me up to 48 hours to respond to you. I tend to respond to emails late at night. So if I'm sitting in front of my computer, it could be immediate. It could take all day. It's kind of hard to say, but I will respond to emails as soon as I can. I try for 48 hours though. So someone asked about the labs. So it depends on if you're taking a remote lab or a hybrid lab. Remote labs, you should be getting information from your I'm watching the chat and getting distracted. You should get an email from your faculty. Check in Canvas. The course may open the day of your lab. I think all of our chemistry labs are meeting this week. I only know about the chemistry department. So Zahara asks, when will the videos be posted? The Chapter 1 videos are already live. If you go, you can't do this at the same time because you're watching me talk, But when this ends, you'll be able to see a playlist and you can go to the chapter 1, or they are the most recent videos, not this video. So those are already available. Are you posting the weekly assignment after this chat? I will try to get it finished today. To be honest, I thought it was done and I realized it's not uploaded. So I'm going to try to finish the weekly assignment today. It will go up no later than tomorrow. Let's see if there's other questions that I see some of you run. I have not taught Chem 2 before. I don't know that I'm teaching it in the spring. I'm pretty sure that I'm not. But if you want to take another class from me, I teach Biochem 1 and Biochem 2, which are like at the end of your career. But I teach those two, which I also really like, but I really love Gen Chem. So, other questions? So Zahara has asked, do we have to get all of the Alex objectives done by Sunday? So I'm going to ask that in I'm going to answer that in 2 different ways. So you need to complete the objectives that are due this week, which I think is 55. It's set up as a folder. I think it's called Initial Knowledge in Chapter 1. Those need to be done by Saturday. If you were to do well on the knowledge check, it will open up to the whole course. And you could basically be like, you know what? I feel like doing Chapter 10. And you could go in and do that. So you need to make sure that you're doing what is due this week. But Alex will only offer you what is due this week. And then it will make you work on it. And then you will go forward. Not go forward. Once you finish all of this week's objectives, you can work on past objectives or future objectives. I will try to record a screen record later this week to give you some information about that. The weekly assignments, I'm sorry that these are not up yet on Canvas. I just kind of forgot. So each weekly assignment will have a different method of turning in your work. This one will be an upload. A lot of them will be that you'll take a picture of your work using an app, and I will explain to you how to do that. The weekly assignments will be found on the modules page in the weekly assignments module, which is not there. But if you're watching this not on Monday Live, it will be there. Other questions? Nice. All right. If I have missed your question, feel free to send me an email. You can email me directly through Canvas, or you can send me an email, either of those work. Riley, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. It may be Rayleigh. Can you send me an email about not being able to get into your objectives? Someone asked, passing AP chemistry, and the advisor said that didn't count for this course. I'm happy to look into that. If you could send me an email, Evan, about your situation, I can look into it. I know that you need to pass high school chemistry to be enrolled in this course, but I'm not quite sure about if you're asking about testing out of this. You can send me an email and I will look into that, or at least forward it to someone who can. The 18-week access is what you need for Alex. We're in a question and answer period, so if you are ready to go, you are more than welcome to roll out. It's about 4:15, 4:14, or pretty close to that. I'll hang around for a few more minutes to answer any questions if there are any other questions. Otherwise, I am getting really excited about this semester. I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday. Same time, same place, same situation. Bring a pen and a paper, and I will answer all of those things. But I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of your Monday, and welcome to your new semester at UNF. Any other questions? Oh, thank you so much. I hope you guys have less anxiety about this semester too. It's going to be so exciting this semester. I'm so excited. It doesn't look like there are any more questions. Y'all have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll see you on Wednesday.